Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. It is Thanksgiving, so welcome and have a happy holiday. It's not going to be a long show, just because obviously it's the holiday, and we've got family things obviously too. So it's family movie night for us. We're going to be watching some movies tonight. We watched They Live, if you've seen that last night, with some friends and family. So anyway, happy Thanksgiving to all. I wasn't sure if there'd be many people on either, so it's a holiday. We're just relaxing. Sales wise, hopefully everybody's having a good holiday. As to about 6:10 today, we had $983 in. So it's been a really good day sales wise. I haven't messed with anything eBay today. Specifically, I've done some work, but just not eBay today. So I figured I'd take a break on any of that. Hopefully everybody else is having some good time and enjoying the family. News-wise here, I just wanted to do a quick shout-out on a few things here. For those of you who have followed, I did the Trilobites. I've actually got two toy companies actually full-fledged interested. We're just working out some pricing on it, and we will go from there. So I do have some leverage going on some of our items here. We're going to advance into some other items here. I'm going to have a Kickstarter and some other things. So things were going very, very well. As you heard, the sales were good. It's been just a real good week here, so things have been very enjoyable. Haven't had any issues, no eBay glitches. Fourth quarter's doing great. Again, we're up. Hopefully everybody else is up. Well, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Let's see what we got. I don't expect it to be a full house. Last week we hit over 100, I think, on live feed. Obviously it's not probably going to be that many just because of a holiday. We got West First Books, David Rubino, Michael Whelan, Tara Lee, John Carlson, Mr. Mark, Carl Bach, Jennifer Peltier, Kathy Steele, Duncan VR. Welcome, everybody. Let's see, strong winds and dust storm in Sydney. Yeah, that'd be a different holiday, but, you got to go with what happens. The famous Doc, welcome. Hang on just a second here. Let's see if I had anything else. Hello, do you mess with posters or other paper art? If so, is there any old episodes on posters and paper art? I do have one on posters. I have shown probably, I don't know, dozens of vintage posters back into the 40s and 50s. We get war loan stamps and things like that, like patriotic, Uncle Sam Wants You and things like that too. There's soda posters. I do have a video. I think if you literally type in poster in the haul video list, I think that's where you'll see it if I'm not mistaken. I couldn't tell you right off the bat. I've got 300 and some odd videos up right now that cover all topics that you can imagine. Every day I put out another one. So I know I have posters, one specific video that has a bunch of posters. As I said, we do sell pretty much anything paper. Poster-wise, are very good sellers usually. I've got a stack, like 50 or 60 here that we bought not too long ago. I have got some Ford Mustang anniversary posters I picked up the other day and things like that. So I always buy posters. It just depends on the poster, of course. The vintage 50s and 60s posters of like movie stars, like door size posters, the 6-footers, those are usually worth, at least $100 or so. Any of the blacklight posters, I always buy those if they're vintage. Like the 60s, Marvel comic book character blacklight posters, those are really good all the time. Some of the TSR Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, they have some blacklight posters too. They're all dated usually, so you can usually tell if they're vintage. I got a couple Star Trek posters. I think one was dated 68 and the other two were dated 72 and 73. So something like that. If it's Star Trek that early, those dates, those are good too. Movie posters, I sell movie posters, so I'm sure you'll see movie posters. I know that I've talked about movie posters in at least a couple of haul videos as well too. So anyway, I do mess with pretty much anything that you could imagine. Just wanted to shout that out there too. Other things here, one thing here too. Now, they're not available here anymore in my area. If you're doing retail arbitrage, these are showing up right this second. Now, there's none, as I said, because I bought out a ton of these, all sealed. They're Whirlpool filters, specific ones. Now, these are showing up in clearance right now. And we drove all over, so I know there's none locally. So if they're in your area, look them up. if you have permission and you have receipts to do these on Amazon, I've been paying about $6 for a 2-pack of these, and they'll sell within, say, 2 or 3 hours for like $30 right out the door. So just FYI, just figured I'd call this out here. We've made quite a bit of money. I do talk about retail arbitrage, but again, you got to be careful on what you buy. Look them up if you want to make sure. There's certain ones of these that aren't worth some money, but you know, we picked up like, I don't know, 60 or 70 of these. And they're almost all gone already. So, you know, it's a good thing to get. Just kind of spend some time and research the item. Target I've called out. These didn't come from Target, but you'll have to hunt around and figure out where you can find them yourself, because it's iffy on any specific store. You know, you never know what you're going to find. Some stores have liquidated those a year or two ago. I would imagine some stores haven't liquidated them all. But right now, there's some national chains that have those out. So just FYI, there's other items we get. There's, you know, Christmas ornaments and things like that. We actually ran into a huge assortment at Goodwill the other day, believe it or not. And they were specialty blown glass with special sand in it and all. But anyway, so you can find some large bulk wholesale. And if you're lucky enough to be friendly with the Goodwill, you can also sometimes get them to give you a wholesale receipt from there, like it was purchased in a bulk lot purchase. So, you know, if you can get one of those, that is usually enough to get you on Amazon for that item. Just FYI, we've done Amazon for a while now, and this is going on our 2nd year on Amazon, and we haven't had any issues. You know, 5-star, and you know, we followed the rules and the whole works. I'm going over and trying to get something together on doing an Amazon video as well too. I don't really want to give out a ton of information on my personal accounts, so I'm trying to be touchy on how I address it. Unlike eBay, Amazon, you're only allowed technically to have one account tied to each business. So, I mean, we technically own a couple businesses, so, I mean, I guess I could have opened another one, but, you know, you'd have to go through the whole thing again and apply, and you'd have to get, you know, approved and ungated in the same categories that I am now. I don't know how their gating is at this point, so it's hard to say. So anyway, sometimes they're incredibly behind on answering. Sometimes they'll just give you a flat no, or you know, on like collectibles per se. The first time I applied, they said they weren't taking anybody new. And then when I kept bugging them every 2 or 3 days, literally constantly, I sent them notices constantly. They finally let me in. I'd sent screenshots of, you know, my other accounts on other, you know, sites like eBay and stuff like that. And apparently somebody there finally just went through and looked at my pages and the photos that I attached. And, you know, that's pretty much what it took, I guess, to get me into there. So anyway, it just takes a lot of time and persistence for those of you interested in doing Amazon. Hang on just a second here. Let's see what we got. Yeah, post office was closed. It was kind of nice not to have to worry about it. I did some post office, some packing up late last night, and then I did some today anyway. I don't like to get behind, and sales have been pretty good this week. So, you know, I hate having, you know, like 110 items to do for, you know, 2 days worth of stuff going out, because that's about what we'd be doing right now. So I do like 20 or something at the end of the shift usually. You know, and right now my kids, you know, are out of school, so I have that, you know, extra time in the morning. I don't have to really get up. We don't go out for Black Friday or anything like that, and you know, I'm not interested in messing around or any of that with any of the sales or anything like that. I don't really need anything. If I do, I hunt around and get it cheap anyway. So that's just everybody else's call. I don't fight the crowd here at all for any sale whatsoever. I don't need a TV or microwave or anything, you know. Happy holidays to all the rest of everybody. George Fernandez, Kimberly Robinson, John Carlson. If orders come in yesterday or today, can I print labels tomorrow and still meet my 1 day? Today doesn't count for your labels. Today is official holiday. It only counts for business day. So if the order came in last night, technically you have till tomorrow. It depends on what your setup is. For us, we ship within 24 hours for everything. So, you know, a 1 day turnaround time. So, you know, you don't have to do it on the holiday, though. The holiday is considered like Saturday or Sunday. Now, we ship every Saturday as well, too, but for the most part, you don't have to ship Saturday or Sunday. The only thing that counts, as I said, are business days. And this week, there's only 4 business days, so you don't have to worry about it, honestly. If they ding you for it, all you got to do is call them, because they actually had a return that somebody opened and they didn't want to return it. They're just trying to get some money out. And eBay made me wait because of the Veterans Day. They said even though that the report said one specific day, they made me wait. one more day. So it may not show up in the system. I don't know if they have all the holidays programmed in it. It sounded like there was a flag that somebody needed to hit that didn't for the holidays, at least on Veterans Day. So anyway, if the post office is closed, eBay can't hold you to that day. So just FYI. It was nice, as I said, though, but I still do pack up some, so I'm not like swamped. I hate getting up in the morning and have a ton going out. I just like to have it all ready. They pick up at our location, so, I always like to have everything ready to go. And if it's more packages, I can know ahead of time and change my totals the night before if I need to. There's been a couple cases in fourth quarter where I actually had to call and ask for a separate pickup where they sent a truck, just because the little trucks, the little Jeep things they send around, I would have filled the back of it up just because it was big items. It wasn't as many, it was just big items. So, we try to keep in track on what's going out too. So, and then if you're selling on multiple sites, just because you got 100 or 110 or whatever from eBay, you could still have 20 or 30 from, Amazon. You could have 20 or 30 from, Etsy or Discogs or whatever else you're selling at. So, it's all one big lump sum. Some items are picked up by, UPS and things like that. We have an account with all the major ones, a business account too. So if you don't have a business account with, UPS, Airborne, FedEx, I would just get one. Usually they're free. And sometimes they'll just give you a bunch of freebies too, just to get you on board. In the past, we've gotten a scale for free and things like that. It was an advertising piece, basically. But due to volume, of course, it just depends on what you do. So, I sign up for everything, because the eBay's integrating much clearer and easier to use UPS and Airborne and all that too, which they're working on. If you see the new checkout when you're going to actually print your labels, you see they've got a whole new page. Just on that too, there is some issues with that. Just FYI, I don't know if anybody else has had them too. On the new checkout screen, sometimes it'll say unable to proceed, error, internal error, something like that. And then all you got to do is go up to the top and click on use the old printing way, and it'll just change it back over to the old method, and it never has an issue. Because I had one that kept telling me the address was wrong, and the address wasn't wrong. I double checked it, and I went back in and looked at it again and typed it up on a Google search, and address was straight as can be. And then when I changed from the new printing method to the old printing label printing, it worked fine. So that's my first step at this point. Glitch-wise, almost all the other glitches are out, where it freezes and it can't reload the page. All that is down to almost zip happening on our end. So, I still find a photo or two missing from June on some items. But we're rotating out items right now. We're blowing out some of the end of the year stuff just to clear out inventory and, make room for a ton of stuff, because I'm trying to reorganize. With business-wise, we're steering towards doing a second line of, just toys on the side. I'm always still going to be doing eBay, so I'm not like straying away from this. You have to get your stuff out there, as many places you can. You got to do as many things as you can, to make a full-fledged good income coming in. Yeah, you can do it on eBay just on one site, but for us, I want to be able to do other things too, and I'm looking for stability and a long end goal here, which is to have separate businesses for like art and the toy stuff. So we're moving stuff around, and so I've changed my mode of operation, I guess you could say, this month, just to be able to have some extra room for photographing and stand work and having another employee do some extra work too. So for those of you who don't know, I got a Patreon account too, and we do post videos just for Patreon. It's a paid group, but we're doing other content and other things too, all related to eBay, all related to basically doing what we do right now. I do offer, some consultations through Patreon if, you need like a sit down, and I'll just literally go over your store and give you some notes and all that kind of stuff. But, that's just, a sideline here. But we've got a lot of stuff going on, and I've got goals, and, I'd really like to be in the toy industry as well. It's something I've always done and always been into. I love toys. For those of you who've seen some of the videos that I talk about, I collected them for years. The wife collects toys. Our bedroom even has shelves of vintage original toys on it. So, that's my love as well, too, art and stuff. And you've seen my postcards that I do and some of the other stuff. So, we want to have two lines of business. You don't want to put all your ducks in one basket, so to speak, all your eggs in one basket. You got to diversify your business these days. So if, let's say, eBay crashes or something, God forbid, I don't see it happening, but, anything is possible in this day and age. So with that in mind, we're trying to have several streams. You know, as I said, we have 7 streams basically now. You know, just records alone is one big stream of our income on several sites. So, you know, you've got to diversify. You know, anybody telling you you're just going to make it on one thing, you might be able to make a living on it, but, you know, how long is it going to last? You know, what happens when the thrift stores keep going out of business as they are now? Prices keep rising, you know, the limited ability to find the clothing, the you know, competition is really what's the problem. And then you're going to be paying, you know, for advertising to try and beat the competition, and then you're back to the square one where you're not making the profit. So again, find something that's making money for you, expand it, and then keep finding new areas. That's why I keep showing all the bolo videos. So, you know, I wasn't really thinking about doing all the bolos when I first started doing videos, but you know, I have to look at, you know, what's the most helpful to people who watch the videos. And, you know, unless you know a bunch of items and you can go into a store and just look on every single shelf for something, you know, whether it's kitchen utensils or kitchenware and things like that, which I got a video coming out on vintage kitchen collectibles. So like a cheese grater or something. Believe it or not, all that stuff has money to it. A meat grinder has money to it, you know. Food dicers, you know, choppers. There's people that just collect butcher knives and, you know, stuff like that, you know, so just keep that in mind. I mean, there's just so many areas that we look for, and they're not, I mean, to us, I've looked for these things for, you know, decades, you know, in the past, and it's not just for reselling because, you know, we're collectors too, so, you know, there's just so many things that, you know, I never thought about showing everybody, but as, you know, we've progressed and I've gotten a lot of feedback, it does sound like everybody enjoys the bolo videos. I've already got one ready, literally, in case my live feed can't go up for some reason, or, you know, I have no no reception or anything. I always have a video ready, just FYI. So tomorrow's video is ready to go. It's another bolo. It's something interesting. So again, hopefully everybody enjoys those. Now that we have the option to put surveys too, I don't know if it's everybody, but I got the announcement the other day here on YouTube that I can do surveys. I'm going to try and do some surveys so we can get some ideas on, you know, what the majority of people are looking for. Trying to steer some things in that direction. Again, I can't, you know, give out everything, so, you know, some things will always be secret. Some things I leave just for my Patreon subscribers. Again, they help support this show as well, too, so. You know, and I know other people, you know, do other things than just, you know, selling on eBay. So that's always the best part. So just like trying to start a Kickstarter, you know, program, we've got some, you know, little animated skit now we're doing for the beginning, a 30-second animation. It'll be one of the longest ones I've done. If you haven't seen the credits that I do that I'm actually sitting in front of now, that's actually, I'll cut out items of things that we've sold, actually. So I literally animated that over, you know, like I don't know, a 4 or 5 hour period. Maybe it's a little longer than that, but, you know, I invest time in this just because I like that stuff. So, you know, I'm not trying to change any format here, but, you know, I'm always been in the artsy. So you're going to see some other stuff like that too, just because we are now selling and we'll have a contract here with a toy company. So, you know, things go in your direction, you know, you go with it and you just keep doing what you can. So it's not going to change, you know, bolos or anything, but let's go see what we got here. Let's see here. Carbach, you mentioned National Geographic with the maps on Sunday. I think the year was 1948. Any cutoffs on dates? How old do they need to be worth my while? First off, for like National Geographics, I purchased, I don't know, like 100 and some of those for $7 total for all of them. At that cost and in the condition they were in, they were like mint. I mean, they looked like they just almost were printed on some of them. So you got to consider your price into them. If you're getting them for 10, 15, 20 cents, or even 50 cents, it's probably worth it. I wouldn't go much more over $1 on any National Geographic with the map. Unless it's like the China issue. China, and there's a couple other ones that sell for good money, but for the most part, most of them don't sell super high. We average 10 to say 17 for one with a map. That's probably about average. Just a standard issue in real nice condition with a Coke ad on the back, they're like 7 to 12 for just a single with no map. We don't buy them post, say, 1948, 49. Just typically the way it is. If we do buy them, we buy them only in huge bulks, and then I would only sell them as a whole year if we had that many to sell, or sell them in lots of like 10, 15 individual magazines from the same like general decade, like 40s. That's how you're going to sell those if they're newer than, say, 48, 49. We've done it for a while. We don't sell them all the time. I sell 1 or 2 a week on average, probably. I've gotten lots of National Geographic on probably a half a dozen times, and then I've turned down probably 50 other lots of National Geographic. So that gives you an idea on what we do get, how many I get, and what I turn down. And, sometimes they're in good condition. There might be a bunch of them, but there's not enough earlier ones. War content seems to go well. The maps, the earlier the better. If you had like a 1920s or World War I era one with maps in it, those might be a lot better. I just don't find them that early. So the earlier is not always the best. You want the content. I try to stick to the ones that are World War II era because of the ads in them. I don't cut them up either, unless they're a bunch of damaged ones. Let's say you got a lot of National Geographics and there's like 500 of them for like, say, $50 or something, which is something doable. We get them in that range, or I get offers like that. I might just cut off all the back covers on them if they're like soda ones, and sell all the Coke ones together, all the 7-Up or whatever the case may be. If there's like a bunch of Christmas ones too, you can sell the Christmas back covers with Santa Claus and Coca-Cola from like the 40s. You might get $10 for some of the back covers, but usually I'll sell a lot of the covers and just trash the magazines if I get them that cheap. I know a lot of people say don't trash them, but nobody really wants them at this day. You can't donate them to the library. There's no book depositories. You can try and sell them back on Craigslist, but I just don't want to mess with them. So, usually they go in the recycling bins when I get the big bulk ones and like that. And again, as I said, I just yank off the back cover if they're not sellable whole. As I said, I don't have any problem chopping up, cutting up, or anything. This is a business. It's not immoral to take the part that's worth something and, discard the rest. So, if you buy a bunch of records or something and you only want a couple of them, you can either sell them, discard them, or donate them. I mean, there's only so much choice you have to do with any of this. So anyway, that's the way we take on it. So I know that was a long, drawn-out question or answer there, but, I want to cover the basis on it. So anyway, let's go back over here. Hopefully I didn't miss Dimes $2. Welcome, Anthony Broders, Otis Matthews. Let's see. I don't think I missed Kimberly Robinson. Let's see where we start. I started doing international shipping myself, and I'm getting more sales. Yeah, it depends on, your philosophy in international sales. Just set yourself up, go through business policies and set yourself up shipping policies so where you can differentiate your overseas shipping versus your U.S. shipping if you're doing things like free returns. I do not do free returns overseas at all. So keep that in mind and make sure you don't do the same thing, because if it's a heavy item, you're going to be paying a big fortune to have the item returned if there's an issue with it. So just keep that in mind. On some items, obviously, you have to, do returns on them. It just depends on, who's paying for it, I guess, should be the issue on that. So international sales for us is usually a big plus. I haven't had as many sales to England and Germany this past 3-month time frame. I just haven't had as many items that are more international appealable lately, just because we've been steering and I just happened to walk upon some huge lots of things, and I've been just sticking with the easily accessible items. Like when I'm out picking and stuff, I'm picking most of the time the bottom of the tree. I'm not reaching up and grabbing the high-end, top-dollar stuff, just because it's easier, it's less work, it's more readily available, and usually it's stuff that people just don't think that's worth money. And if you know those fields and those items you find on the bottom rung or the bottom of the tree, you can make more money doing that than you can buying those 1 or 2 high-dollar items from a sale and just leaving after that. And there's people that do that. I mean, if that's what they want, they're worried about, their actual individual cost or profit per item. I don't really worry about that. I just worry about the actual income coming in. So let's say I have $100 invested in, like, today, labor and, all my fees and stuff. I sell $1,000. It's a $900 profit if that's the case. We're running about an 82% profit margin right now. That's what it's running as of this morning. I didn't check it since 6 o'clock when our sales total came in, but I do check all these things. I'm also working on some of that type of information too, like to-do lists and things that can help you cut your time down too. I get emails and comments and posts constantly, specifically about I'm taking all this time. It takes me 20, 30 minutes. And I'm not trying to call anybody out or pick on anybody at all, because, we had the learning curve when we started. It took us a long time to do this, a long time to do that. I'm going to try and give you some videos here and there in between the bolos on how to cut your time down. Time is an essence here, especially in fourth quarter, because there's so much things you can do to get money coming in right now. There's even advertising, if that's the case. I mean, nothing's been cheaper in advertising. Everybody has a easy level playing field to come in and pay for an advertisement to push some sales, like if you're doing retail arbitrage or you're drop shipping or something along that line, or you got a wholesale deal, because we advertise. I do pay for some advertising on Facebook for our other account. I do it for some other things too, to draw people to our business. And there's ratios you have to play. You have to know the cost per acquiring each customer and whether it's worthwhile. Like if you're making a $10 profit, but it takes you $10 to get the customer, I mean, it's just a lost cause. Now, on our behalf, it doesn't take that, because we can piggyback off other items, and there's a whole philosophy to how all this works. But anyway, let's see what we got. Let's see. Love the episodes and working backwards. Oh, thank you. I appreciate the famous doc. Welcome, Nancy. Happy Thanksgiving to you. John Wayland. John P.O. is closed today, so your ship day is Friday. Yeah, that's why I said it's a day off, so no big deal on that. Would like to see more videos, if possible, on your team listing and the process. Love it. Yeah, I can go into that. Basically, we've got, and I'll throw some videos here and there. I do a few other insider videos on stuff like that on the Patreon. Just because, those folks are going out of their way. And again, no one has to support it in any way, shape, or form. I'm not huge on promoting myself like that. But we do offer some extra stuff to some of those. But on, like, people, when we're listing, somebody's going to take photos. I've got, multiple sets of lights these days. You'll eventually get to that point, where you have 2 or 4 different complete sets of double lights, so you can, do listings in several areas. Or like, let's say you do clothing and you do small, so you might want to, have a set of lights for, listing clothing, and then another set over there. So basically, I can have 2 people taking photos of items, at the same time. And as long as you're getting ahead of yourself, you can have 2, 3, 4 people listing at the very same time somebody else is taking photographs. That's a typical day. That's typically what happens. I would be there on another laptop pricing things. Space is usually the deciding factor in how we rotate schedules. Just because the counter space we have for one area, 3 people can list. I can, do something in another area too, and then 2 people would be taking photographs. So basically there'd be 6 people in the building at one time working is about the max that I can use, honestly. We have 8 people that do it, so it just depends on their schedule. Some people don't work in the mornings, other people don't have, aren't in school at the moment, so things like that are how we get it. So another issue with cutting your time down, and this all goes to how we cut our time down. We've got a set way to do it. It's the same way every single time. It's always sell similar. It's always take photographs of like items. So if I'm not going to bounce back and forth. I'm going to take like 100, 200 pictures of just records. That's all I'm going to do one day. Somebody's going to go and do records, whatever it takes, however many I need to do. Another person will just do postcards, whether it's scanning now, which I shot a scanning video. I just haven't had a chance to rotate it in there, but we're going to show you a way to save some time on actually getting your photos, your images too. So whatever you can do to save time, line up everything. When you're listing things, like if you're doing postcards, list from the same state all together. So if you've got 50 Texas ones, don't mix them up. Sort them before you take the scans or you photograph them. Sort everything out ahead of time. So that way, when it comes down to the end and you're listing them, you're not changing any categories. You're not changing anything with shipping. You're not changing any of the descriptions other than in the top description little box. I don't even change anything in the body of the actual listing anymore at all. All I do is a price, the photo, the title, and then a little description line. I mean, it's if you're doing the same similar items like postcards, paper items, labels, they're in the same category if you sort them. I mean, that's the key to cutting your time down. For me anyway, I know most of the items we sell. Just because that's all we do. I've got, almost 50,000 items, so we know that's what's live actions. So 50,000 live actions. So I know, what these items cost for the most part, so I don't have to look up most of them. And when I do look up items, I don't spend more than, say, 4 or 5 minutes. That's usually all it takes me to, get a price on it. I know a lot of people worry that they don't want to give something away because you don't know the items yet, which is a legit thing. As you do this more and more and spend more and more time doing this and more time researching these items, you're not going to have to research as many items. You're going to find the similar items. You're going to get the gist that say, hey, this type of postcard from this city always goes for this amount. A real picture postcard of this goes for this amount. A book like this goes for this amount. If I buy 50 comic books in, 10, 12-cent covers, they're, just typical comic books. They run in this range, like a Disney or a 4-color Dell or whatever the case may be. Whatever you're selling. Movie posters from Star Wars. There's only so many different movie posters. I know pretty much all of them. I worked at a movie theater when most of the movies came out to 83, so you have to just learn some of these areas. Cut your time down no matter what you can do. And as I said, the more you do it, the more you look up stuff, the more you won't have to look up stuff because you'll have memorized it. You'll have seen the same thing. You'll get a gist on, ashtrays, or you'll get a gist on cigarette lighters or soda bottles or tin cans, whatever you happen to be finding that you're making money on. So list it together. And that's another reason why I got a 90-day plan, because I can bulk list stuff quicker that way. If I set 50 postcards aside, because I get postcards all the time, 50 Texas postcards aside, next week I get 50 more, next week I get 25 more, I've got 125 postcards I can list in one steady sit run. All it means is you organize your back stock better, and you're able to sort through it enough to know what's what and where you're storing it, so you can pull out the right items. Have bins labeled with what's what. This is just postcards, all alphabetized or listed by state. It may take you time in the beginning to do it, but if you're like us and you're getting the same items over and over and over again because you're making money on them constantly, you will have to set this up at some point anyway, and it's just going to save you time. Once you set it up, you never have to do it again. It's a one-time only investment in time and energy and buying extra bins, to have bins to sort your stuff, to keep it a little longer, to bulk list it. Again, if you don't have the ability to bulk buy this stuff, again, because a lot of people's bottlenecks is sourcing, it may not work for you that way. So whatever I'm showing you, again, it depends on your business. I can only tell you what I personally do and how well it works for us. Somebody else could have totally different results with basically the same items. I don't know where anybody's specifics are and where your skill sets are. So again, I try to know everything about this, not just one area, not just one thing. We know clothing. I don't like it, so I don't do it. I know books, which I do. I just don't like scanning anymore. I guess I'm just too much not wanting to scan. I take the bottom of the rung, the bottom of the tree, because it's easier pickings right now. I don't have to fight with the rest of the crowd for certain items. Book scanning was great, before they changed the prices. Again, you can still make a ton of money on books, but you're making half what you used to, and that's just not where I'm at. I'm just not trying to fight at a book sale or at a video sale or anything like that. So anyway, let's pop back over here and see what else we got. West First Books, though, but I will keep that in there and keep that on my list when we get off this. Jennifer, yeah, I'm going to go into some unmarked jewelry. Unmarked jewelry, you have to know more about the construction of the pieces to be able to date it more than anything else, because the older the jewelry, the nicer it is. You need to know things like Bakelite. Most Bakelite aren't marked. There's very rare to find a marked Bakelite piece, but they're usually worth a lot of money if you can tell what a Bakelite is. Just fancy animal pins sell just because they're animal pins. It doesn't have to be made by anybody specific. So, you'll see some in my videos and, my hauls and my what's sold where I buy stuff that aren't marked, but they have to be something substantial and nice. But I'll go over that. I've had some questions too on, can you do some videos on things not to buy in each category, which I might intersperse some of those here too, because there's some no-nos that I would never buy in some areas, like top 10 things not to buy in the postcard area. That's one of the ideas that I had written down too. So, I might cover that too, because I could easily come up with 10 items that you should never buy in postcards. You're not going to make a good return on your investment with those type of items. So, like modern day chromes, for the most part, most of them aren't worth much money. Or girly style, pinup style, modern day pinup styles aren't worth much money. Unless there's something really spectacular or it's, a promotional item or something. I don't mess with a lot of stuff like that. So anyway, that's just a couple examples. But, there's dozens of ones that I wouldn't buy. Let's see here. Would you authenticate a 1 cent Washington stamp? I have one on an old postcard not canceled. I would never worry about most of the postage stamps on the postcards, honestly, George Fernandez. Most of them aren't worth much at all. I find more postmarks on postcards or more autographs on postcards than I do ever a stamp that's worth something. There's most of the postcards have a 1 or 2 cent stamp on it. That's just a common everyday stamp. They're very rare to find something that's worth something. I never mess with the stamps on the back unless, say, it's a 1880s or 90s postcard of some sort, an advertisement, and there might be some other information or it's an early stamp on it. For the most part, you just won't find that in the postcard field. Let me see here. Hang on. My feed just bounced its little thing again. Let me see where we went to. Let me see. Michael, you can print the labels tomorrow. No worries. Yeah, that's the same. Thanks, everybody, for answering. Do you dabble in foreign postcards? Found a bunch. Egypt, Rhine, West Indies that were made in their respective countries. For the most part, no, Carl. Most of them aren't worth a lot of money. I did sell a lot from Egypt the other day, and I averaged about $1.60 profit per card, but I sold them in a lot. I bought them cheap in a big bulk lot, so I didn't have much into them. But normally I wouldn't mess with them unless they're like a whole set of like real picture postcards from like Egypt. West Indies aren't really worth that much. French cards really aren't worth that much. Most foreign cards I don't mess with unless they're China. Every China package deal I see or any bulk lot of China cards I always buy. As long as they're vintage, say 1960 or before. China sells very, very well. I talk about China all the time. And even some of the areas, like some of the Korean ones sell over there. And there's some Japanese cards too. But for the most part, Meiji, you want like hand watercolored postcards or something from that era. You know, that's the only ones that I see that sell the best, you know, with like cherry blossoms or city scenes if they're Japan cards. But for the most part, those countries don't sell very well. I think that like the one that I was saying, the $1.60 or so profit we made on them, I think I sold like a lot of 6 or 7 of those, including like the Sphinx from like 1910. Real photos, but they're just not worth a lot of money. Have you ever found a postcard that was sent from a famous person? Yeah, I had a vintage postcard not too long ago from, shoot, what's his name? It's from Key West. What's the guy's name? Old Man in the Sea. Hemingway. It was a Hemingway. Now, things like that will show up occasionally. You're going to find them. You know, I've seen somebody who found a Adolf Hitler. Not that he's anything good, but Adolf Hitler card. It was just mixed in some vintage junk. I've seen an FDR card. You know, things do show up. They sent postcards out. They're people that collect postcards would 100% collect that one and put that in a prominent spot. And you're going to find things like that on rare occasions. What I find the most, if you're talking about autograph-wise, what I find the most of are autographed album covers. I've found more autographed albums and records than anything else ever for autograph-wise. Once in a while, I'll get some postcards that were, you know, like movie star-related postcards. I got a Gary Cooper and a Cary Grant and things along that line I have, too, right now. And I've showed some in a couple videos here. But, you know, you do run into those too. But albums are always the number one I find. Just because most people don't pay attention to the signatures on them, they usually think that it's from a, the person who owned it. Or, you know, just somebody messing around. But just constantly, and I've talked about this before, I have 2 Elvis autographed records that I paid $1 a piece for. We did spend, it's the only time I authenticated something, I did spend it's $200 to get Elvis's autograph authenticated. Lesser famous people, it's only 50, some are 50, some are, you know, 25. It depends on the person, but Elvis's is faked all the time, so it's one of the highest price ones you can do, and I was tempted not to even do it, but if you get something like him, per se, it could mean a $500 increase in value, so it's worth the $200. We're not going to sell the item because, you know, my wife's a fan, and, you know, I had a chance to see him, you know, when I was a small child, and anyway, long story short, we're keeping it. But anyway, the one that we authenticated. The other one we know is real from seeing it. But for the most part, I don't mess with any of that either. Authenticating it is, obviously. But autographs are good. And again, as I said, I don't authenticate any of them. I just sell them the way they are. I just compare them, make sure that they're pretty legit. Or I know the source and the provenance around where they came to be for the most part. Let's see here. 3 sales yesterday, a few months in. That's not bad for one day. That, usually the days around the holiday are usually a little slower for online sales because people are with family and they're not hunting online as much. Yeah, if you get an order too, Michael's exactly right. If you get an order in on Friday, technically you don't have to ship it till Monday. Now, if I get it on Friday, we usually just ship everything out that same day up till 2 o'clock. If the post office isn't here yet, we still wrap it and ship it that same day. I ship on Saturdays, as I said, 6 days a week. I'd ship on Sunday if they picked up on Sundays, honestly. It really gets people happy and surprised, especially if, they're used to getting, stuff in, say, a week or 10 days because people hang on to it for a couple days. When they get it in, 2 or 3 days from the end of auction, it's a surprise. And, the feedback just speaks for itself. Because constantly I get feedback. It was just super quick arrival, love the item. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for stuff like that. I'll call you out if anybody can go ahead and hit the like button if you do enjoy the video. We do get the haters on here. I had 2 people that had to come on just to click the thumbs down before it even started the live feed. So if we can kind of combat that a little bit here. I know it's the same people and we kind of get a gist on who it is, but it's just not worth hassling over it. Let's see here. Yeah, Michael, there's nothing wrong if you're working full-time. That's just my philosophy. We do this full-time, so I don't have another secondary job to have to worry about it. So if you're into this full-time, ship full-time, Saturday might be a good plus for you. It does help to alleviate a Monday that can be horrendous sometimes, because then you've got 3 days sometimes worth of shipping to go out at once. And if you sell a bunch of stuff like we do in fourth quarter, I don't like shipping out 150 items or better in one day. It's a long start to the day. It's the only thing that I try to break up. So that's why I said I even ship or pack up sometimes on Sundays. So anything overnight still till Monday morning is all I'll have to wrap up on Monday. So just FYI. It can sit there in a bin. Who cares if it goes out right away, just so it's packed up. I try to spread it out instead of like jamming it up into one time frame. Yeah, if the post office is closed, the one-day handling time is 1 business day. So if it's not a business day, like a holiday, you don't have to count that. So like this week, 7 days in the week, there's only 4 business days. So 3 of those you don't have anything to worry about with eBay at all. Nothing to concern you on a holiday, as long as it's an official holiday and the post office is closed. So just keep that in mind. Kathy Steele looked up miniature books and miniature furniture and did not find the sort of things that your video showed. I'm not sure if you're talking about looking them up on eBay. Miniature books are there. All you got to do is do a quick search in the ended listings under comps and type in miniature books. And then miniatures in general, you're going to find too. And it doesn't necessarily have to say miniature in the title. So if you're just typing in miniature, you might not see them all. You can go by categories like in dollhouse, because there is a dollhouse miniature section as well too. So those items are there. I've sold bunches and bunches of them. I have miniatures in my store right this very second. Dishes and little doodads and like little irons and all kinds of stuff like that. So just depends on where you're trying to find. If you're trying to find them to buy, you're going to be hunting around to find them, because you've got to find the right sources. Like dollhouse collectors are usually the best source for dollhouse miniatures. So other people make them, as I said. The miniature category is one category that almost anybody can at least make basic dollhouse miniatures and still be able to sell them for a profit of some sort. So, as we've sold miniatures for profits that we have made. Hopefully that answers what your question is there, Kathy. I tried Amazon FBA, but fees killed me, wondering if fulfilling by merchant is worth it. We only do, Jim Hawk, Amazon fulfilled by us. I don't do FBA anymore. We still, have the ability to do it any time. I just have appreciated doing it straight from us. Well, thank you, C. I appreciate the $5 super chat. It's always great to get that. Back to the question for a second so I don't forget the train of thought. But as I said, we used to do FBA, but the fees were why we stopped doing FBA. So nowadays we learned that, if you sell the right item on Amazon, you can get some good sales either way, whether you're doing FBA or not. For us, I sell like 78 records. I might sell 10 or 15 on Amazon in one day and only maybe 5 on eBay in that same day. So you're going to have to play with the markets that you're in, the items that you have, to see which sells on which site. If I just did 78s on Discogs and eBay, I'd be losing out a big chunk, because honestly, I do sell more records in some areas on Amazon. Jazz 78 sell great on Amazon, and I do mean great. Enough to, give me a nice profit beyond what I ever thought I would think possible on 78s. I make more profit on Amazon and 78s than I do on eBay and the record site Discogs combined. So, excuse me. But again, thank you, C, for the super chat. Let me see here. Welcome, Cindy Y. Welcome, thanks, Brandy. Anthony, eBay has had some glitches. Yes, I don't have any more per se right now, other than the actual the label printing. It does glitch out occasionally, but again, you can just instantly click to switch it back to the old way when it's not working on you. Anytime I've had an issue with one of the new label printing, I just click it back and it's instantly fixed. So anyway, the rest of the glitches that I've heard about are all on the phone app, which I don't use. I personally would always recommend using, once you get to the levels that we are, or you get to a couple thousand items in your store, you really have to have it on a laptop or PC or something like that. It's just not practical to do it otherwise. Just from what I personally have seen from our own experience. So maybe it's a possibility, but I'm not a big fan on using the phone. I've got the phone. I use it, for other things. I research things on it. We take it. I never leave anywhere without it, but it's more a business research and, emergency issue for us. I don't like using the app on the phone, truthfully. I know for those who have an Apple and things like that, they love the difference on it, and they have no issues with using it, but I just don't like it. So anyway, I'm an old school person. Just give me a laptop and the whole works, and that's what I go with personally. So anyway, let's see here. Larry D, thank you. Diversify. I do other things than ecom. Yeah, it does. You don't have to just diversify online. Whatever you can do to diversify. It's hard to make business. You're gonna make a whole full-fledged income off of just one source these days. Like 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, anybody could live on eBay because it was the only one around. Anybody could live on it if you just sell basic stuff. Even used clothing sold like mad on eBay. Auctions used to be the thing. Now auctions aren't as a fad like they used to be. Everybody doesn't care if it goes an auction. Everybody doesn't care about, I'm going to win an auction today. Most people just want to have it now. They're just not interested in the auction aspect of it. That's a philosophy that's changed from what I see. But with all the other stuff, without just doing e-commerce, there's so many other things you can do. Your advertisement ability, it's so cheap for advertisement these days. So if you're doing in anything, even store brick and mortar, you can get the business from online to your store through addressed marketing to specific groups. So I mean, whatever you're doing, you've got the ability to use the internet to make your business better. For us, it's not brick and mortar, but that can work for people too. There's many people who have warehouses, many people who do eBay who you actually hear and watch their videos on too. So and they have warehouses. For us, I just want to keep the costs down. I don't need the warehouse because I don't mess with return pallets or things where I need this huge amount of space. We just got a big facility here, and it's big enough for us right now. And if it was a little bigger, I could probably expand out a little more, but we're doing it in stages. I don't want to expand too quick, too fast, and kill myself, because that's what a lot of people do. They'll think it's going flush and they're doing great, and they'll expand. They'll get a huge warehouse, and then they'll have some glitch in the road, and it'll kill their business for a little while, and then they're going to be in financial trouble. They won't be able to pay the rent for their warehouse and their house where they're living, and it can be a big ordeal for a lot of people. So just keep that in mind. I've got a $10 super chat. I appreciate that, but I can't see who actually left it. Desert Greek. Okay, thank you very kindly. I do appreciate that. Let me pop back up here where we are at. If I missed calling you out, I do apologize. My YouTube chat sometimes pops and disappears. YouTube has more issues than eBay these days, honestly. And they keep changing everything. They told us, if you didn't know, you could get a subscription done on YouTube if you had 10,000 subscribers. I don't have them, and that's not what I was thinking. But, they upped it to 30,000 now before anybody even had a chance to do anything. So, anyway, they constantly change stuff on here. Let me pop down to where we're at. Love the bolos. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, too, Kathy. Well, thank you, Kathy. The opening animation, as I said, that's literally done in Anime Studio. I literally just cut out the items from images that I actually took, and then we animated them. I play around with that stuff. As I said, we're going to do a 30-second animation, and I'm going to have a little animated thing here. Nothing fancy for Christmas as well, too. I don't know, what our Christmas schedule is going to be at this point, obviously, but I will have something available for that. I like doing that stuff, so even if I didn't do it on here, I'd do it for myself. So, this is just me, this is who I am. So I don't mind doing oddball stuff that people don't think's cool, but I like our animation. I liked it. It was it's me, I guess you could say. It's something that I would do no matter what, even if it wasn't for like the auction professor. Just in time flipping, how you doing? Happy Turkey Day, yes to everybody. Jim Hawk. I often see vinyl records with many light scratches, so I pass on them. I don't have a record player and don't know much about them. Do people sell them this way? It depends on what kind of record it is, and it depends on how scratched it is. Sometimes they're slide marks. You got to know the difference between a slide mark and a scratch. A slide mark runs perpendicular to the grooves usually, and it's from actually dust and particles on the record, and from when you're sliding it in and out of either the cover or if you're sliding it into the inner sleeve. Some records you'll find, that don't have an inner sleeve and they're just sitting there dirty in the cover, and that's where some either, slide marks can be made onto the record or even scratches as well, too. Some records, as long as they play, even if they have some minor scratches, are still worth buying. It depends on what it is. Usually you want a scratched record that you don't know on it. You want to pay almost nothing for it, and you want to make sure it's a high dollar, a couple $100 record. Otherwise, you're just not going to be able to sell it. So, I've done it for a long time. We just yesterday night, late last night, I sold $199 and 5 records to one person. And then just this morning, I sold another record for $90 and another one for $57.50. We got some other cheaper ones, like, $5, $10, $15 ones on Discogs. But those are some of the ones just in the last 2 days just on eBay. One of them did have scratches, but it's a 78. 78, so they're scratched because of the speed, the distance of the grooves apart. Scratches aren't as damaging to a 78 record. Plus, the speed helps it go past the damage. And some of the scratches you can actually whittle out. I have a junk turntable that I can use to actually keep going back and forth over that section, especially if it's a skipper. Sometimes you can fix skipped records by doing that. It takes some practice, and you got to know what you're doing a little bit, but we do that on high dollar records. You can also even flatten out warped records. You can even sell cracked records that are literally almost in 2 pieces, depending on the record. So, there's a lot to records. You just have to spend some time. Records are going to take you time. You can get a used turntable, and I'll probably go over that in a video too here, but you can get a used ion turntable that plugs into your PC or laptop, nowadays for like $50. So if you're going to be doing records, get yourself just a cheapo record player for now. Don't worry if it doesn't have the best needle on it. Start with some of the cheaper records and play some of the ones you were wondering on. Get just a junk lot, really cheap somewhere, or buy a big bulk lot and play some of the ones you're not sure on. And you're going to get a gist on how bad a scratch is and how versus how it will play. Like a scratch on an LP, I won't mess with. Because if it's even, a quarter-inch, half-inch scratch, it could have killed 2 or 3 songs. And the grooves are so close together. They're modern. They're micro-grooved on some records, too. So I'm very cautious. And on 45s, it has to be, as I said, a high-dollar one to mess with. So long and short of that, some are worth money even scratched. C.E. Gainey, thank you. Let's see, just-in-time flipping light wear would be okay if told they had wear in the ad. I'd look for a player to have for testing and or listing. Yeah, you know, the wear-wise is one thing. You want to make sure if it's something good that there's no pops and crackles. Sometimes now I've got 2 videos literally that go into very specific details on actually grading records with the breakdown on what you look for. You might want to watch those. I use the actual Goldmine and standardized 78 record gradings for those. Those are literally what you'll find for the majority of people who sell records will use. I think what's VJN or something I think is the other one for 78s. But I try to be very cautious on grading. When in doubt, when you're grading a record, always grade less than you think it would be. That way, if they get it and you're off on your grading when you start, they'll be really happy that the grading was actually better. You may lose a few bucks, but you'll gain happier customers when you're first starting off. Once you get the gist on grading and you feel more comfortable with it, then you can be a lot stricter on your grading and keep it in that range. Because for a true collector of records, the grading, one little tiny mar or something can change it from a V plus down to a V. And they are very, very strict on those grading levels to some people, especially if it's a high dollar, scarce record, you know, like it's a Northern Soul or something. Tommy and the Derbies. Look up that on PopPsych. Those records go for about $4,000. I've had 3 of them, mind you. They're a very specific record. A grading scale difference in that from a V plus to a V could be $500 less. And if they're paying $500 more for a specific record like that, they darn well hope that it's going to be the right condition. So that's why I say if you're not sure on something, grade a little under. You will have better customer and better return business, better overall experience selling records for the first time if you undergrade just a hair. Honestly, I'm just giving you the straight scoop on that because that's what we do on many items. If in doubt, I always give it in the buyer's behalf. I always undergrade it. Always. You know, that's just how you keep in business these days. People are picky on records. You got to know the business a little bit. So just FYI. Let me say here. Bundle 01. Wilson, do you pay your listers per piece or an hourly wage? Hourly wage, of course. I would never pay per piece because if they don't do enough pieces per hour, you still have to compensate them for the difference between what they made and the minimum wage in your area. We pay above minimum wage, so you know, I want to keep the people that we have. You know, they're good kids. So anyway, but hourly is always the way to go. Like for those people who don't know how like tipping works in a restaurant, let's say a waitress is getting $2.13. That's what it was when I was a general manager at a restaurant. We'd pay them $2.13 an hour. The tips would make up the difference between I think it was $7.15 or something at that time for minimum wage. So if they didn't hit $7.15 in tips because they were new or whatever the case may be, you have to pay them the difference. So there's no such thing as a tip position that's only going to give you $2 something an hour. It will just come out of the business itself. So why you see like turnover sometimes higher in restaurants, when the restaurant has to pay out the difference from the $2.14 to minimum wage, those waitresses or waiters have to get better. Otherwise, the company's going to want to rotate them out of that position. It saves you money because you're not paying for the labor then. Their tips are paying for the labor. It's a game. You got to understand how it works. I worked in restaurants for a long time. I know every ins and out of working in a restaurant. I did every single aspect you could imagine in a restaurant, from ordering to opening new restaurants to doing the advertisements. I even appeared in TV commercials for the ones that I did. And if you look on YouTube enough, you may be lucky enough to find one of my TV commercials. But I did everything for it. I know every single aspect. Not trying to brag, that's what I did. You know, my money depended on me knowing everything in that business, so I could protect my areas. And if you're running restaurants or running any retail brick and mortar, any business, you get bonuses usually based on, you know, how you protect your money. If you make your food costs, you'd get, you know, 20 or 30% of your bonus. If you make labor, you get 20 or 30% more. And then if you made your overall overhead, that would be another one. So, you know, those are just the things you have to take up. And everything that I just spit out there is the same thing I look at in my eBay business. You know, where's my cost at, like in labor-wise? I know where I run in labor. I know what I need to get listed a day if they're running. I start off, you know, you do a schedule, you figure out how much that schedule is going to cost you and how much you need to sell. So, you know, you have to judge. You know, one day I might need to just have everybody list to get a bunch of items in to cover the cost because the day before I didn't, have them doing any listing. There's, everybody was taking photos or whatever the case may be. So your costs and your investment into your business can go up and down. You just have to know where you're at in it and to be able to compensate. Like for us, if, as I said, if I ran a bunch of labor one day, the next day I can make up for it by having everybody list. Again, you've got to have this all scheduled up in advance. You can't just say tomorrow we're listing. You have to have photos taken and everything sorted and ready to go. So again, this all works together. That's why I say I've got this 90-day plan, and I can stagger stuff. I can put stuff together when it's similar and like items. So it just works for us. It works to our benefit to do a 90-day plan on this. Right now you're going to see some of my sold items that I've had that I've showed you in hauls, because I'm just now rotating certain items in. I'm probably going to not show as many haul videos. I'm going to do more videos on just what's what, so you can learn your areas and your fields. So again, that's the key to this. So anyway. Yeah, I forgot to change the backdrop. I'm sorry, where was that? Just in time flipping. I was going to put it back to a Thanksgiving here, but, I hate to keep bouncing around with everything. Christmas one, though, I love Christmas season, so you're going to see a lot of Santa Claus and things in my backdrops here for the whole month of December. It's a big family event, and we do a lot of stuff for Christmas, so, some Christmas music's public domain, so I might even play some Christmas music in the background, too. So, quietly, just because I don't mind Christmas music. I'm always glad to see it. I love the lights. I love the snow and the whole works. So anyway, let's pop down here. West First Books. Yeah, I've talked about yearbooks quite often. We've sold yearbooks, $500-$600 before a piece. Usually I can buy yearbooks for $1 to $3 max for any yearbook. I'll buy them at bulk lots. Sometimes we'll get a couple hundred yearbooks all at once. I always talk about it, and we've got an inside source to say which yearbooks have which famous person in it. There's some online that you can look up, but we've done yearbooks for a long time. 6-8 years I've been into yearbooks to some extent. And we've really heavily sold them in the last few years. So yearbooks are always good. I actually have a Bolo video just on yearbooks too, if you're curious. I think it's in my how-to playlist though, but it just covers yearbooks literally. I think it's like a 22-minute video on yearbooks. So anyway, if you're unaware, I've got like 300 videos. I think it's 320 videos or somewhere in that range up right now, and probably 60 or 70% of them cover items specifically that you should be looking for. So if you haven't watched all the videos, I would honestly recommend going back and watching some videos. Yeah, be prepared before entering your listing room. That's a good point too. As I said, I'm going to try and get you some more information on how to save yourself time when you're doing this, because time is a key factor here. So anything that can save you time, any patterns you can do, any gang listing certain items at the same time will always help you. Don't just like list one book and then hop to a toy and then go back to books. Just stagger all the books together. List them all together. Stagger the vintage ones in one category together, and then list the young adult or juvenile section books at a different time, or whatever you want to do. But stagger your stuff. Like if you got, action figures, do all the action figures in one day, or Hot Wheels, or postcards, or trade cards. Stick them together. Don't switch back and forth between categories. Don't do anything else other than list sell similar item. Have yourself a couple templates for specifics. I've got a template where somebody can just click sell this item, sell similar item instantly, and have a template for trade cards, or have a template for postcards, or have a template for records, or 78s, or posters, or whatever I sell. Have a template for that, and then only sell similar. That way you never have to go back in and change anything. And those templates that I have are almost identical in every way, shape, or form, other than the body of the actual listing information. Might say you are up for your consideration is a record instead of up for your consideration is a postcard. That may be the only difference between the listings, other than the actual condition box. But that condition box now, they've moved up to the top, so it's right below the item title, which makes it even easier to list. So, and the templates are the way to go, honestly. And having yourself set up your policies are the best way to go too for shipping. Name them properly and you won't have any issues. If you want to know some more on that, you can go into my how-to playlist and I've literally got some covering the policies. And if you type in policies in my channel search page, you can find at least 2 videos just covering business policies. Business policies will cover your return policies and your return refund and your shipping, and the whole works on there. Payment notices, everything. So again, once you set up all that stuff, your templates, your policies, you never have to do it again. So, start off in the beginning. If you're getting to the store and you have the hub already, start off in the beginning. Don't wait to do it to the end if you want to do this. Again, if you're not sure, don't invest a bunch of time until you want to do this, till you have a source to buy the merchandise, till you're able to do this, you're happy with it. eBay's not easy. Now, I say this all the time. It's not easy. You're going to have days when you're frustrated when you're starting off. You're going to have days when you're not going to maybe even make your rent because you're not selling enough. That happened to us. That happens to everybody at some point when you're first starting off. There's days when you're going to have to give the food to the kids and you're going to be eating ramen noodles because, you need the money to cover your bills or whatever the case may be. So you got to be prepared for that. You're going to have hard times at some point. We've had them. Everybody's had them. It's how you learn from those and are able to move above and beyond those and not let them drag you down. Most people just get drugged down. They get depressed about it. They don't know how to pull themselves out, and they'll just give up on eBay and go to a traditional job. And I say this before, the majority of people will never succeed to get to the level that even we're at, or even someone well beyond us. I'm not going to stop, so, we may never get to $1 million a year every year on eBay or on site platforms across the board, but that's fine with me. At least I did what I could to get there. It's the right time of life in this general way, and how technology is. With the internet, anybody can have the same playing field as a bigwig company. So it's just how you invest your time and figure out how to do it is what's going to get you there. So, and as I said, having a vision of this and your drive, that's literally what it takes for us. So, I'm working on Thanksgiving. Obviously, everybody who's watching is taking the interest in giving up a little bit of your Thanksgiving to hopefully try and learn something. So that's the right way to do it. If you work for somebody, most chances are, if you're working in a brick and mortar establishment, a retail establishment, or even a restaurant, you could be working today. As a general manager, I worked almost every holiday, just because, if I didn't do it, the people under me, my assistant managers and stuff, sometimes would have issues, and I'd end up getting called anyway, or an issue would happen or whatever. It just ran smoother. Holidays sometimes too, as a general manager or a regional, if excuse me, if you work, sometimes I got a percentage of the sales I took in on that day. So, sometimes, working on a day on a holiday, you could make a couple $1,000 extra in your pocket. So, that's the kind of person I am. I'd do the extra day and give up the holiday. Not so much nowadays, but I don't have to. But back then I did. I'd give up a holiday to get the extra money. And in holiday pay, even for hourly, usually you get double pay on holidays. So, if you're getting $10 an hour, $20 an hour is a big chunk of change in a day. That would be your 6th day. When we worked at Disney even, I always volunteered to do whatever I could extra. So anyway, let's go back over here and see if we got any more questions. I'm going to cut it off here in just a few more minutes here. I didn't plan on being on so long as it is, just because I didn't expect to be a big full house, but we've got a pretty decent audience for Thanksgiving. I'm kind of surprised. Again, if you haven't hit the like button, please go ahead and pop that like button out there for me too. Let's see here. James Lyford. I found a porcelain figurine at Goodwill that says made in Germany in green. How do I identify the value and who it was made by? You're welcome to post a copy of it in my Facebook group, and we can tell you what the marking is. Made in Germany can still be found in items right this very second, so just keep that in mind. Made in West Germany is easier to ID. Made in Germany, it's hard to say. I'd have to see the actual item itself. So, the color scheme isn't a big deciding factor. Some Japanese, though, if it's marked in red, you can kind of judge certain things, by the coloring sometimes. Hopefully that answers it. How much would a Korean female soldier photo go for? It depends on the age and what type of image it is, I guess I would say. I've never had something like that specifically, unless it's been like a postcard, honestly. I don't have a YouTube channel, but someone subscribed to me from this channel. That's possible, because sometimes I'll go to somebody's page just to see, and people subscribe to people. No idea why. Maybe they liked your comments or think similar. Who knows? I don't worry about stuff like that, truthfully, because it's not going to hurt you. There's nothing, you can block them, I think, if you go into your your my channel. Even if you don't have a channel, you still have options to do things with it. So just FYI. Do you dabble in smoking tobacco pipes? Yeah, I've showed them before, actually. Went to your first live auction and scored some old Marks figures. That's always good. Marks figures. I just listed a bunch of Marks figures. I listed those tanks from the Desert Fox set as well too. So if you saw the haul video, you saw what I'm talking about. We picked up a couple $100 worth of Marks tanks at it was actually at Goodwill, believe it or not. So live auctions can be fun. Just don't go over your limit. You're welcome, Carl Bach. And that you are Carl Bach the C. I am sorry. As I said, my feed, I just noticed, I just see it right down here. Carl Bach was nice and gracious enough to give us a super chat for $5, and I do greatly appreciate that. Let me think, where are we? I finally made it on your live show. Yeah, all my words just wigged out on me. They're partially here. Welcome, Desert Greek. Thank you for all your hard work. I appreciate it. Yeah, for some reason, I don't know if everybody else sees that, but my text is broken up. I cannot read all the words. Jody Walkmacher, I found the miniatures when I looked them up. Yeah, miniatures are there. Miniature books are as well, too. As I said, I do sell both. And again, thank you, Desert Greek. Just listed a micro ivory China fan. It was painted. I think it's ivory. If it's ivory, I would take it down immediately, because if it's real ivory, you will get banned and you could get reported to the local authorities. Just be careful. I never, ever sell anything that could be ivory. Even if you can get away with it, if it could show up back later on there. So I would honestly go take that down quickly. It may just be bone, though. Usually the fans that I find are bone. It's going to take some really getting into some information on how to tell the difference, though. But if it's ivory, don't list it on anything at all, especially if you listed ivory in the title. eBay will flag it for sure, 100%. I've never had any or seen any that weren't flagged within just a matter of short time. We've made that mistake. You can't even list things that say bone unless you know what kind of bone they are. We got a, not a ding, but we got a warning the other day on that. And I had it bovine, and somebody just forgot to put the word bovine in there. But anyway, we just added bovine, and they were fine. Any value in old equipment dealers and invoices? Most of them aren't big movers. Let me see here. Miniature books you should find, Kathy. Honestly, just type in miniature books. Don't do, some of the time the eBay search will automatically put you in a specific category. So just clear yourself out, search all of eBay, and just type in miniature book. That's all you should have to do, and you will find them. I can guarantee you there's probably about 100 or more up. 150, 2, 3, 4, 500 maybe even miniature books up now. Beatrice Potter does have some miniature books because we've sold those as well too. Those can sell too, believe it or not. Yeah, Auction Zip's pretty good too. Old Marks toys, as I said, are always good. Invoices, it depends on the company. Most invoices don't sell for a ton of money. Unless they're like letterheads with graphics on them. If they're like 1880s and stuff, invoices can sell. Mostly they're selling for like the letterhead that's on those. I have an autographed picture. Getty Images has a picture. You can't link to a Getty image, no. That is not your photo, and I would say that would probably get you some issue. I wouldn't do that. Yeah, I would just say it's available on, on a Google search or something to be found if that's the case. Staycation. Yeah, I'm not a big Black Friday. We do not do any Black Friday sales or purchases, honestly. As I said, I do mess with pipes. 1,400 for pipes is a huge amount to pay. I never pay that much. Unless it's like thousands of them. I would never sink that much money into. Pipes can be hit or miss. You never know what the pipe collector is going to want on some of those. So Just be cautious on something like that. I very rarely spend that kind of money on something. It's mostly huge lots, thousands of items. We spent 3-4 thousand on a couple lots of records in the past, say 4 or 5 months. But that's the max I go on, and it's got to be 10,000 or more of anything. Just be cautious. I'm not saying you can't make some money buying pipes, but you got to make sure you know what you're doing. Usually the ones that look like Sherlock Holmes are the best ones that are Breyer, and there's some specific brands that go for a ton of money. So I do clean records. We have a record cleaner as well. Look them up before you clean anything, Dinah Cox. Look them up to make sure they're worth anything to begin with. If they're worth something, then look at cleaning them. But otherwise, I wouldn't even mess with cleaning them until you know what's worth something. Paperweights, James, they can go either way on some of those. If they're not marked, there's some of the flower ones are a dime a dozen. So you just have to be careful on being able to tell the vintage ones from the newer ones. And some of them, too, can be designers that just haven't been signed. So you'll have to get the gist on them. But flower paperweights in general are some of the most common ones. It just depends on the paperweight. Again, don't spend more than $1 or something on just a common everyday paper, because you're not going to get a ton of money. You might even need to get a few and list them as a lot to get some money back out of them. Ridge Hill Finds Jilly, welcome. Desert Greek. I have 8 storage lockers filled with stuff. How do you decide what to list first? You got to know what you got, I guess. Seasonally wise, I would always list seasonal stuff first. So Christmas items. Anything they can sell for Christmas should be going up right now if you don't have it up already. Without knowing what you got, that's a horrendous amount of stuff. So I couldn't even begin to tell you what. We just mark everything down as it comes in. I know what we have in stock. I can tell you everything in any box in my facility. Everything that's here, down to the, maybe not every single postcard, but I can tell you what I have in there basically. We get postcards sometimes 5, 6, 7, 8, 10,000 postcards at a time. So anyway, I don't know specifics on the cards, but any of the items I have, I do know what we have. Kenneth McQuaid. This is my Fight Club jacket, I guess. I've actually got a couple of these. This is probably like 69 through 74-ish by the maker, I would say. I don't remember the maker on this one, but I love these jackets. I'm a big fan of Fight Club. We might actually watch it with some people tomorrow night. If you haven't seen it, Fight Club's a good one. So anyway. And if you want to hear, I was going to shout out a song the other day. I love, vintage, but if you want to hear something unique and you want to hear something new, go search out the Baboons and Drinking Gasoline. I won't tell you the genre because it might turn some people off, but it's one of my favorite songs that I listen to quite often. But Drinking Gasoline by the Baboons, so just shout that out here. Just off topic for a second there. If you want to hear something really cool that's got a real good beat, that's a song to shoot for. Is the how-to list public? I have a how-to playlist here on my channel on YouTube, which is public. All my open videos here on YouTube are available anytime. I do have separate videos, though, that only appear on Patreon with a paid account. So anyway, and as I said, I'm starting some consultations through Patreon as well, too. So if you pay an amount, you can get 30 minutes or more out of time, and I'll actually spend some time on top of that looking into your store, and we can go over your store and on a live chat if somebody's interested. But just FYI, just because I've had some people ask that, so that is an option now. I haven't done it straight through myself just because I don't want any money laundering issues. I've heard some other people had some issues with it, and I haven't got a chance to go over with my account and all the other ins and outs and that kind of stuff. So anyway. Can I give any suggestions for health insurance? Buy them off the market. That's all I could tell you. Buy them off the market. We actually also have a business owner's policy. So if I get injured while I'm working, it covers all of my expenses, including lost wages, damaged equipment, theft, or any of that stuff too. So if you don't have a business policy and you're doing your life savings or your life income is coming off of the internet, get yourself a business owner's policy, because if something happens, you break a leg or something, you can't source, you can't walk down the stairs to list, you're dead in the water. Always get yourself a business owner's policy. Number one thing, once you start having enough money roll in, Going to cost you an extra $100 a month, but it's well worth it starting off. I think when we first started, it was like $90 a month for the coverage that we got. And we didn't get it super quickly, as quickly as we should. Nowadays, I would never go without it. When our inventory goes up and our overall, expenses add up and increase my my insurance as well too. So insurance-wise will just be your preference, but again, I get it off the online marketplace. Hang on here, let's see if we can get a couple more questions out. Yeah, I don't care to work for anybody either. Desert Greek. Thanks, Kay Hollins. Listen to the song if you haven't heard Drinking Gasoline, though. It's a real good song. Hang on here. Let's just get a couple more questions here, and then I'm gonna have to cut it for the holidays. We do have some plans still today with the family. Hey Annie, how you doing? Saigon 111, how you doing? Yeah, Desert Greek, if it is ivory, even if you don't mention that it's ivory and someone knows that it's ivory, or you sell it to someone who's trying to check you out, you can get in trouble. Just FYI, I don't care, it's your call, but I would never take a chance, even if I had a question on whether it was or wasn't. Because if it's brought up or someone reports it as ivory, even if you don't say it in there, they can still ban you for it. Or not ban you, but give you a ding. Just FYI. SP, we don't have any kind of warehouse. Everything's just on shelves in our facility. It takes up probably about, oh geez, I don't know, maybe 600, 700 square feet, but floor to ceiling, 8 foot tall, stuffed in every brim. Everything's just shelves. Everybody calls it a dungeon, so if that gives you an idea. And it's pretty tight in there, so there's not a lot of way to film. And I've thought about that as well too. Let's see here. Desert Greek, when you get a big lot, do you ever set a price on what you list first, or do you just list whatever as you get it? If I get a big lot, I take out a couple high dollar items and I list those immediately to get all my money back. Usually when I buy a big lot, there's usually a couple items in there that'll pay for the entire lot. So that's the first goal, no matter what you buy, is to get it paid for as quickly as possible. I do 90-day plan almost everything, but I do usually pick out, let's say I spent $500 on 1,000 or 2,000 records. I'll pull out a couple records to get my $500 back immediately. And then everything sitting here is just, extra. It's free income from that point on. That's what I always do for everything that I can. Get my money back right away with a couple items out of that lot. If you buy a big box lot in a local live auction of paper, grab a couple pieces of paper out of there and sell them right away to get your money back. That way you're not having, because you can't list everything right away. So get it paid for, and then if it sits on a shelf, who cares? It's already paid for. You've probably got a profit back from 1 or 2 items if you bought right in the first place. That's the goal. We always try to buy straight from the beginning, so we only have to sell 1 or 2 items, and then the rest is gravy right off the bat. That's the key to getting this to work. If you got a huge thing, a truckload of something, get your money back right away, and then worry about going on. That's why people say it's my dead pile. It's your dead pile if you got money into it and you're not getting it out. It's just sitting there. But most everything I have that's sitting on the shelves that I've shown in some of the videos behind me or that's not listed has been paid for already. That's a key to this. Not only has it been paid for, we didn't pay much for it to begin with. $1 or $2, 50 cents a quarter. We bought it in bulk and paid 5 cents an item when we buy 10,000 or more of something. So get it cheap. Make sure it's worthwhile too. So don't just buy cheap because it's cheap. Look through it to make sure you're going to get a good return on your investment to start with. That's just a key. Thanks, James. Silver Pools. Just purchased a large lot of vintage Zippo lighters, around 1,800 of them, mostly new condition box. Got them from a customer of mine for $5 each. $5 each is a pretty big... I don't pay that much, but again, if they're brand new, an average brand new Zippo, if they're still sealed in a package, $15 maybe shipped, plus shipping. So $18.50 or so shipped. You're gonna sit on those for a while, but you might make a ton of money. It just depends. $5 is a little iffy in my book. I don't know what your business model is or anything. So again, I'm cheap, so that's a lot of money to shell out in one lump sum there. Not a bad call, because I've shelled out $4,000 or $5,000 in an hour on some items here. you know, I'm usually a no that I'm not going to lose money on it. So as long as you know you're going to make money on those 1,800 Zippos, more power to you, you know. That's just a chunk of change. Let me see here. Let's see here. They have a rockabilly show here in Orleans once a year. You would love it. Everyone dresses for it. Whole weekend fun. Yeah, I've been to some of those too. Not here per se. Veranda Files, welcome. Yeah, insurance. BOP. Get yourself a BOP. I'm going to have to cut it here because we're almost to the point here, and we do have some plans at 9, so I'm going to cut it off so we have some time to get ready. I do appreciate everybody being on and everything that you've done. Again, if you haven't hit the like button, please pop that like button for us, and that will make me happy. Again, thanks, everybody. Hope you enjoy the rest of your holiday, and we're going to sign off right now. Have a good evening.